event. My day job is president of Dodds Memorials out of Xenia. We're celebrating our 160th year in business this year. So thanks. Been around a little while. But I went out to New Mexico back in 2018, went to one of these events, and came back with a passion that I felt the Midwest needed this. So that's why we're here. And so day 2 is going to be a day that's focused. Yesterday was pre-planning, having everything in place. Today is going to be about how to deal with our own grief in a time of loss. And again, not necessarily a time of death, but a time of loss. And then also how to partner with the folks that are also dealing with grief. So it's a two-step thing. So if you're not grieving at the moment, you may be able to pick up, you will be able to pick up some things about how to take care of the people who are. I'd like to take the time to obviously thank one of our presenting sponsors, Routson, for providing food, facility, little projectors, tables. So thank you very much to Routson for that, and also Woodland Cemetery in Dayton. Was one of our presenting, and then Dodds Memorials. So I don't know if anybody went to the event last night at Woodland, but it was a great time, beautiful night. Rain held off until we were literally driving out of the cemetery, so that was fantastic. I'd also like to thank our event sponsor, Rock of Ages Corporation. We actually have a representative of Rock of Ages, came all the way from Vermont, so that's Amanda. And I'd also like to thank Roberson Law, Techstone Granite, and Cold Spring Granite for being sponsors for the event. So what I would like to do is start us off. And I'm going to jump to our initial speaker, who is Dr. Rachel Nolan. She is a professor down at the University of Cincinnati. She's also the founder of the Sages of Grief, LLC, where she helps people navigate grief. She is going to tell, and again, I don't like to do spoilers, so she had traumatic loss experiences as well, and she's going to be able to share those, but I'm not going to speak for her on that front. But I've known Rachel several years now. She's fantastic. She's very in tune with grief and how people deal with that. So with no further ado, Dr. Rachel Nolan.
Thank you for the introduction. So today we're going to be discussing several things. One, what grief is and what grief is not, because there is some confusion as far as, what defines grief, what is concerning in grief, what's not concerning with grief, etc. How many people are impacted, because grief feels like one of the most loneliest times in the world. And oftentimes when somebody is grieving, they feel like nobody understands. And sometimes it helps to know just how many people are actively grieving. Grief responses, what are normal, what are considered abnormal, what might be concerning, specifically if you're dealing with people in your practice who potentially might be grieving. I've had individuals who I've worked alongside for 15 years, and they'll confide to me that 5 years ago their wife just died. And I'm like, I've known you for this long. I never knew that your wife had passed away. I never knew that you were grieving. So maybe, again, some signs and symptoms and things you can think about. Things that you should have been told in grief or that you wish you would have known beforehand, because oftentimes when people are grieving, people say the most weirdest, strangest, darndest things that sometimes can actually cause us to have more grief because they can be painful. How others react to our grief, which is a huge influence of how we grieve. We're socially constructed to grieve from a very young age